In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the 6 main funnels that coaches use throughout their business and which one is actually going to be right for your business. Let's get straight into things. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're going to be breaking down the 6 main funnels that people use or info coaches use, especially with my time working alongside coaches, but also being a part of the sales process as a closer myself. Now, the first one I want to touch on is the DM/organic funnel. Okay, now this is a very basic one. You've probably seen this before, and perhaps it's even what you are using. This is a very surface level funnel. The idea is you push content out on Instagram or TikTok, and from that, then you start a conversation with a lead, whether that be through a call to action, somebody that's liked the post, somebody that's commented, anything along them lines. You're either going to outreach them or they're going to outreach to you, and then you're going to do the whole setting process and get them booked into a call. Issues with this? Well, the main thing is it's very time consuming. Okay, regardless of the situation, whether you may have a setter on the account or not, every single sale is just a conversation that's reliant on the piece of content. And that means you've got to start the conversation or perhaps even start the frame, carry that conversation, and then end up getting them booked through the DMs. Okay, yes, it's proven to work, but the issue with this is there's very low trust, and all of the trust is coming from perhaps a 1 minute video. And just thinking about that, when was the last time that you actually watched an Instagram reel or a TikTok, decided to book in a call with somebody all because you saw 1 minute of them? It's not genuinely how it goes, which is why that there's low trust and the actual conversion rate is generally lower than any other funnel here. And the final issue with this is the fact that you're always reliant on new leads. A lot of leads get left in the DMs and there's no real system to track back on that. Regardless of whether you can do follow ups, it's always the case that you're never going to have that actual trust built again going back to it, so that you're always going to have to push for a sale rather than having videos do the selling for you. Now, I would always recommend this if you're very early on to the online coaching business. If it's something that you're doing, perhaps fitness, something like this, which is going to attract people, and you're just starting to upload content, great. It's a good way to start making your first 0 to 3K, I would say, online. Yes, you can do more with this, but you may as well have a better funnel to be able to scale that further. So overall rating for this, I would actually give this about a 4 out of 10. Now, this can definitely be a good baseline, like I mentioned, but we'd go with a solid 4 that could potentially be even improved to maybe a 6 or even higher, just depending on adding a few variables. And from that, let's jump into the community funnel. Okay, so the community funnel is the next step when it comes to adding something to your program. Now, a lot of people use this. For example, this actually here is Charlie Morgan's program. His is Imperium Academy. Now, I actually stumbled across this through an advert that I've seen on YouTube, which means that he's actually publishing ads, which means he's actually got a different type of funnel, but it still is the same concept. So the main reason is traffic source. So we've got TikTok, Facebook ads, or Meta ads, whatever you prefer, Instagram, and then YouTube. However, the reason I say it's different with Charlie's business is because he has the premium, which he's basically doing like a low ticket. However, he has a lot of setters and he is a very established business within the info space. A lot of you probably have heard of Charlie Morgan, and this is why this funnel works for him. If you have less of an audience than Charlie does, though, this is more of a complication. And the reason that is because when you attract the people into the low ticket, you're attracting them because it's free or it's low ticket. And what do I mean by that? Okay, cool. So if you're attracting somebody for free or for even $99, for example, this is classed as low ticket. Now, this is good because you're going to be making that instant $100 sale, and then you even have some leads to actually go and upsell, which is what the whole process is. However, the issue is you're attracting lower quality leads. Yes, upselling is possible, but you need high volume for it to work the same as it does with, for example, Charlie Morgan's program here. This means that you require far more people than other funnels to hit the same numbers, just based off the fact that when somebody joins a low ticket, they're there for the free value or the low ticket value, which is the whole reason behind it. So out of 10, I would probably give this, maybe it's above a 4, definitely, but I would probably give it a 5.5 because yes, it's proven to work. Would I recommend it? Potentially, depending on the client, but I think there's better funnels out there, better for your time, but also better for conversion rates as well. So we'll stick with a 5.5 for that. And that brings us to the next one, which is the Tripwire funnel. Now, this is pretty much Alex Hormozi's special. He brought this in. It could be the book funnel, Tripwire funnel, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, what this is you selling perhaps a mini course, a book, or something that's going to entice people to buy, but you don't actually make much money on it. So, for example, take Alex Hormozi's book here, the $100 million offer. Okay. Now, this book itself is $30. That's not a high price. Okay. He's not going to be making a lot of money, and it's probably not going to cost him a lot. So, by looking at the fact that this is $30, he's probably not going to be making a lot off the book itself. But what he is doing is this book is basically a lead for him. Hormozi doesn't make money from the book gives him a buyer. Especially with Hormozi's audience, he's got about 4 million subscribers on YouTube alone. The main reason that someone like Hormozi can fulfill this is the simple fact that he's got the audience to convert. This is basically another step to the community funnel here because it's almost like a low ticket community, except this is making somebody actually buy something rather than like some value on a school, for example. They're actually getting a book which shows a lot more knowledge from him, but also this converts them into a buyer. So the reason for the book, it's not actually for the money. It's to slowly qualify you into the real offer, which is a mentorship, which is then going to be high ticket. For example, here he has the offer creation course, which actually puts his book as the front page, and it says take this course and it's free. Upon going through this, you're probably going to enter some details, maybe your first name, last name, email, phone number, and one of the team is going to call you, do a quick call. One of the team is going to call you, you're going to pick up and then get sold into the funnel, whether that be free to start off with and then move forward down the line. It's always going to end up in some form of high ticket. Essentially, $30 to turn a stranger into a buyer and then $10,000 plus on the back end. Amazing funnel. However, I would only recommend this if, again, you have a bigger audience. If you have a low audience, I would definitely not recommend this as it's not going to be something that you can get proficient enough. I mean, I know a lot of people are using AI apps now, which is almost a funnel, but a lot of them are just getting referral bonuses and not actually converting those leads. So out of a 10, I would probably have to give this a 4.5. I would say it's slightly better than the DM or organic funnel, but I would not say it's better than the community funnel because at least with the community funnel, you're going to have everybody in the same place in a school who can connect with other people as well. For example, here, I've got 4 messages and 99 plus notifications. With a book, you're going to have the value from the book, but you're not necessarily going to get access to the community as well, which is why I would put it at a 4.5. Yes, okay, it's proven to work. Yes, Hormozi does it very well, but one person who's got a big audience cannot reflect the full funnel and its capabilities, which is why we then want to jump to the next funnel, okay? The next funnel is the challenge funnel. Now, this is very common with potentially traders, fitness influencers. This is what you'll see very commonly, okay? Typically, I've just gone for one here, which is a 5-day process. So day 1, you sign up. Day 2, you get a result, whether that be some form of result, for example, fitness. You see, oh, okay, this is what's going to work. This is what I'm going to achieve. Or with trading, maybe you make $100, something like that. It's going to entice you, which then leads you to day 3, where you're going to actually build that trust. Why is this important? Once you build trust to a person, for example, let's look at this she-wolf trader here, Ashley Hanawaka. I'm not sure if I said her name right, but what that means is that people build trust into her. This means that when they want more, which comes to day 4, they can be pitched on day 5 or even day 4, depending, or whatever the challenge length is. They can be pitched, and because they've built trust into this person, they're more likely to buy because they've now seen some already results. Now, the issue with this is there is a massive drop off. Okay, some people get very eager to do something and they give up even after day 2. Why is this a problem? Because you've lost that lead, you've pretty much exited the window where they could have bought from you initially, but instead you put them through a challenge, which, okay, you're going to have probably a higher conversion rate in total because the people that are going to go through, you may be able to pitch them a lot easier, but all that means is you're going to have a high close rate, but the numbers are going to be low. So potentially, let's say 60+% close rate, but then you may actually only have 20% of the audience that you could have had if you did another funnel. So whether them numbers work out to you, I mean, you want to do the maths yourself. If you took 20% of your audience and then said 60% of them was going to close, is that better than having 50% of your audience with a 40% close rate? I'll let you do the maths. It's not the right call. Now, the other issue is you need an audience already to actually fill the challenge up. The reason you do is because otherwise it's pointless, as you may as well just spend all the time one-to-one working with people. If you have 28,000 followers like Ashley does, that's not a massive amount when it actually comes to the Instagram potential. However, what this means is she can have probably 100 plus people in one go. Running this for 5 days, let's say, again, going back to this, if we have even 30% of them that are going to come through, so that's 30 people, and then 60% of that, talking 18 closes. If 18 people close at $3,000, that's $54,000 in the space of a week. Okay, now I don't know what the numbers were for that. She's probably got a lot more than 100 people going through the challenge, but that's just to give you some simple maths. Okay, yes, it's very good, but then you have to remember that you're running this for 5+ days. There is a lot of effort that goes into this, and you can't do it very often because if you do, people stop caring and don't want to join the challenge because they see it as a money grab or a get rich quick scheme, which doesn't work. And the problem then is if you are doing a challenge, get people to follow along. If they have a bad day, for example, trading, this is very common. If you have a trading one, they have a bad day, they're not going to trust you. And this eliminates the whole day three. Build trust, they're going to go back to the start, but they're not going to sign up again. So you've then lost them, which then means that this 30 people could then come down to, let's say, 11. Okay, which, yes, okay, 60%, you're still going to have maybe 6 closes, but 6 closes as opposed to 18, you're then going to only have $18,000. So a third of the amount you would have made. And that's a very easily thing to happen, especially with, for example, trading or something that is not 100% stable, especially in my eyes. So overall, going back to the rating challenge funnel, I think it's very good. Again, if you have a higher audience, I wouldn't recommend it if you have a lower audience, and which is why I would actually say potentially it's a 6. I think it's very good at what it does, but it's more particular on who can do this. Now, I think webinar is probably one of the top funnels there are, and it's proven to work amongst a lot of creators. One thing I will say, instantly off the bat, this is very similar to the other ones. Webinar, you need followers. Okay. The whole point of a webinar is so that you can sell to many people at once. It builds trust and authority fast whilst warming a cold audience in one sitting. So potentially 1, 2, or even a 3-hour webinar, you can warm 200, 300 plus people in one sitting, allowing you to get a lot of leads and a lot of purchases in just 3 hours. Now, what a webinar is doing is basically running Evergreen on autopilot. Instead of you sending an Evergreen out to loads of people, they're actually just watching this because some people pre record these webinars. They can be live, but it does happen that some people do pre recorded ones, which I don't personally agree with. However, I think even with the live scenario, it's still just good for some quick cash. What it does though is it filters out all but hot buyers because it means everybody that was interested is going to join this, and then either they're going to buy on the webinar, like it says here, so you can have the content, register webinar, and then they're going to buy on the webinar itself, or any leads that don't, they're going to be called up afterwards because they'll be put into a list of people that attended the webinar but didn't turn up. There's also going to be people that registered that didn't actually attend the webinar, which is then more leads because they've got some interest. So it does produce a lot of leads. You can produce a lot of sales. I know a lot of people, especially myself, I have worked on a webinar actually when I was a dialer and I made some good money from that. Would I recommend it? Definitely. But it's also going to be the same scenario as these other three. Challenge funnel, community funnel, Tripwire funnel. It's only going to work with a higher audience. And I would say with the webinar, you want to be pulling in at least 100K Instagram followers, just for the simple fact that otherwise you may as well spend the time doing one-to-one. So if we look at the cons here, we can actually see that. So cons usually need a bigger following, low show up rates. So if you have 1,000 people sign up, you may only have 200-300 people join. Still good, but that's still only 30% of people. Can't run it too frequently. I know some people do it once a week. I mean, you've got the likes of Shelby Sapp. I know Shelby Sapp does a lot of these, but the problem is she's got millions of followers. She can do this. She can get away with this. You can't run it too frequently with a lower amount of people. Now, one big issue with this as well is the fact that 1 week pitch can lose you 100, 200 sales easily because the problem is you can't really objection handle as well as you can on a sales call because you've got probably 100 people plus in the call. Okay, maybe they ask a question, they ask a question, they ask a question in the chat. You can answer these, but there's not going to be but potentially these three people here might have a limiting belief which you cannot get over. Okay, you're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to undo three people's limiting beliefs in the space of 5 minutes. It's just not really possible. And the other thing is it takes real effort to build. You need somebody that actually understands webinars and actually knows how to create a successful one for you to make any money or potentially make the good money that you want to. Out of 10, I would say this is definitely on the higher end. I would say webinar is an 8 under the circumstance that you can actually fulfill this properly. And that brings us to the final one, which is the VSL funnel. Very common, pretty much what you want to do for your funnel. Now, there's 2 layers to this, but let me just talk about what it is. So, VSL funnel, first you get your content. For example, somebody may post a video, how to start trading in 2026. Copy me. This is video, even if this generates, let's say, 300 views, that's going to be 300 warm views, as opposed to Instagram, where it's going to be like 12K views and you may convert, I don't know, 20 of them. What this means is they're going to watch this video, they're going to build trust, let's say 17-minute video, they're going to build trust into you, and then they're going to want to see, oh, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. They want to work with you specifically because they know what you do is legit, or perhaps they've bought trust into you. So the first step, in your comment section or your description, should I say, you're going to have applied to work with me. Now, I do this, for example, on my videos. I have the I have the link to work with me, which is ascensionmanagement.com, which takes them to our website. In this case, what I've done is I've just shown you like a trading one. This is actually TJR's one, the blueprint, and he'll have this in the top of his videos. Instagram, he has this dotted everywhere. It's slightly different, but what this is it's a VSL. You're going to watch this video, and this video is going to call out your exact problem, going to build more trust with yourself, shows proof on how the system works, handles any objections that you may have before you actually get on the sales call, makes an offer, and then tells you to book. Now, this is where it comes into two parts. Now, this is what you test depending on the client. So, for example, one of our clients, what we would do is we may have a type form out the back of this. So once you've watched this video, you then click like a book your call or something like that. It's then going to take you to another page where you're then just going to have to fill out a form, blah, 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 name, email, phone number, few questions relating to the business. This only works if you need to qualify people more. For example, if you've got people that turn up that are unqualified, you need to make sure they're qualified a little bit more. However, what the general process is, once this video has been played, you'll then book a call and it'll take you to, for example, our page here where you can book a free 30-minute call. This will be the same discovery call, audit call, whatever you want to call it. It'll be very similar process, which then they can book in a call. For example, we could book in a call for some time this week, which will be here. Click this, then get a date, go next, book in the call, and that goes straight to the calendar. What this will then do is all the information here will be converted into a Zapier or some automation that we've got set up in, for example, a Slack that we do for our clients. And then they can see every single booking. The setter can go and give them a triage 24 hours before, or even ring them up instantly, depending on what the process is. It's very different for each client, but we always want to make sure that we're doing the best thing. Now, VSL Funnel, I would say it's a 10 out of 10. Okay, VSL Funnel is always going to work. It's going to be the best thing because you're building the most trust, you're getting the most information out of people, and I believe that if you don't have a VSL Funnel, then you're losing a lot of money. And this is what we do for most of our clients. We use the VSL Funnel. So I want to wrap the video up there. Hopefully you have gained some knowledge from this video. And if something like a VSL Funnel is enticing to you, but you're not sure quite how to do it, or you want some help with the systems itself, feel free to click the link in the description, which is just going to allow you to actually go to my VSL, funnily enough, and then you can book in a call with myself. And what I will do is I will do a free 30-minute call. It will be me, not another sales rep. It's always me that does the stuff. Going to do a 30-minute audit on your business, see what we can implement, work out an actual plan and how we can make you some more money in the next 60 days. Okay, now I say 60 days, we're going to be making money in the first 30, but I always like to make sure that we can maximize that in the 60-day window. So if that's something that's interesting to you, click the link in the description and we can talk further from there. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed this video and I shall see you in the next one. Take care and have a good day.